Hi, I'm Amy.
And I'm Kirsty, and this is our podcast, Love Needs No Words.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Love Needs No Words. Today we're joined by Louisa Stanley, whose daughter Anna has the rare genetic and neurological condition Pitt-Hopkins Syndrome. She's also the author of the book Parenting on a Different Path, which are inspirational stories and poems from parents of children with complex needs. Louisa, welcome.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for allowing me to come on and chat to you lovely ladies today.
Oh, well, first of all, what a wonderful book. We laughed, we cried, and
Absolutely.
we related to it so much. So first of all, I just wanted to say that. And the inspiration to writing the book was obviously your daughter, Anna, who has the condition Pitt-Hopkins Syndrome. So for those who haven't heard of what that is, can you explain it? And also, how does it affect her?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'd never heard of it, which is, when I talk to people and explain about Anna, people haven't heard of it. It's really rare, 4 in a million. So when we got the diagnosis when she was 3, it was like, okay, what is this? you just instantly turned to Google. We'd not heard of it. We didn't know anybody who'd come across Pitt-Hopkins syndrome. So Google is where you go, and then you get all these
Horror stories.
Bombarded with all this information. It's like autism in a way that everybody experiences it differently. So everybody who has autism will have different symptoms, different ways, different mannerisms. With Anna, she's non-verbal. We were told she would probably never walk, but she now is walking with support and quite a lot of steps independently now. So she's kind of pushing those barriers. But ultimately, she needs care with all aspects of her development. So it's global development delay. So any kind of feeding, dressing, toileting, she needs our support with all of that. So yeah, it's quite challenging. Luckily, she goes to an amazing special needs school. We haven't had that school battle, and they support us and her fantastically well. So yeah, she's definitely in the right place. But yeah, she needs a lot of support and a lot of one-to-one guidance. So yeah, it's definitely been a learning curve for the last 6 years. So
yeah, absolutely.
I think that getting that diagnosis, we spent the first 3 years waiting for that diagnosis, but then you think when that diagnosis comes, you don't kind of know how to take it. It's that kind of relief. But then we haven't seen that geneticist since that day in that appointment, since she was 3, and we were told that information. So we felt incredibly lost at that point, incredibly alone. My partner, James, he went off trying to find answers, trying to find solutions, trying to find fixes. And I think that's kind of a male instinct to, I've got to fix this situation. Whereas I kind of went through that grieving process of, okay, our life's completely changed now. So that path that you think that's drilled into you from, you're going to be a mum, you're going to walk your daughter to school, you're going to push her on the swings, you're going to do all this, she's going to make friends, go to parties, all these things. Your whole perception of motherhood just in an instant just changes, and you're having to take in so much stuff and try and process it. And that was one of the hardest times in my life, that time when that diagnosis comes and you're just left and okay, there you go, there's that information. Like, okay, what do I do with that?
What do I do next?
To just rebuild, because it's so true what you were saying. We've spoken about this before, about you have this idea when you become a mum, or for dads probably to a certain degree as well, but you have this idea when you become a parent of what your life's going to look like, and obviously parenting any child is probably different to what you think
absolutely
before. But you certainly don't expect it when your child is kind of faced, or you as a family are faced with any kind of like special educational need or any situation like that. So it's like trying to then rebuild the foundations of what does this look like without really any understanding of what the future holds.
And that's hard, isn't it, to kind of just you see it all in the media and everything, this perfect families everywhere, and actually it's blooming tough. It is. And actually you can either bury yourself in the sand, which I did for quite a while, but then actually you think you've got to be grateful for what we've got. And actually it's taken me a while, but I'm so blessed to have Anna and blessed to to have her with her particular needs, because actually I'm now able to understand her better. She's taught me so much about life, and I'm now able to, support other parents who are going through similar things. But yeah, at first you're just lost.
Yeah,
and I think that's, that was really hard.
And something I think we can all relate to when you're going through that journey. But what were the signs, would you say, that things weren't quite right?
Yeah, so we had a difficult pregnancy anyway. So the first scan that we had at 12 weeks, we were told she probably wouldn't survive the pregnancy. So from that 12-week scan, first child, you're then scanned every few weeks. So all through pregnancy, you're kind of on edge, waiting for that next scan, But amazingly, she beat all the odds right from then, and she did survive. And then we had an awful labour with her, and she's struggling with her breathing. But then we were sent home again, and everything was fine. So I talk very much about the roller coaster of our journey, because it has been the ups, the downs. Everything's fine, off you go. Okay, things aren't quite right, you go back, and then things are. It was about 6 months, when she was about 6 months old, I knew something wasn't quite right. We were going to all the baby groups. I think I said to you, Amy, we went to as many groups as we can. I think as a mum, you want to be out there, you want to be experiencing all these things and giving your child the best opportunity. But in music groups, she wasn't holding the instruments the same as other children. She wasn't sitting up the same as other children. In the sensory room, she wasn't looking and engaging the same as the other children. And swimming, this was the real noticeable thing. Swimming, she was tucking her arms back, and she wasn't, her muscles seemed to be locked, and she wasn't swimming in the way that the other children were swimming. And these were just subtle signs, but to me, I just knew something wasn't right. So our health visitor was wonderful. She put us in touch with the paediatrician, who then we just went through the process of getting blood tests and things until we finally got the diagnosis. But yeah, it was lots of little things that kind of led up to that. But I think we had really good support from the professionals at that point, that we were able, that understood that, okay, things aren't quite right. We were told we may never know what it is. And to me, that was hard. But that made the diagnosis even harder, because, okay, we're meant to be happy. We're meant to be happy now. We know why, but you don't feel happy. You're not. You're in that
that limbo stage.
What now? Yeah,
absolutely. And did you have a genetic test then in the end? How did that come about?
So we went through I think it was a genome project. So we were part of that for a while, but it wasn't. I don't think it was through that. They had to do mine and James's bloods and compare them to Anna's bloods. So it's not genetic. It's not come from me and James. But they noticed that there was one of the chromosomes were different in Anna's to ours, and then I think they went down the research. Then I don't know, but I know it was. Yeah, it's like a spontaneous thing. So it hasn't been inherited from me and James, but it's kind of mutated in the pregnancy, and it was just always meant to be. That was always meant to be.
And that was just her right from the
just her. That was there's nothing, because you go through that blame for a while,
we've all done that.
That blame and that guilt is one of those. We'll talk about very much about the phases of grief, but that feeling of guilt and blame, could I have done anything different? That's we beat ourselves up, don't we, too much, I think.
Majorly.
I think that's really natural.
And about the non-speaking, I don't know if you had the same, but because Alex was non-speaking for a long time, you got a lot of, are you talking to them? Are you doing this? Are they watching too much TV? And that doesn't help, because you're struggling to come to terms with what it is anyway. And those comments just make it so much hard. I know people are just trying to help, but you must have had the same.
Absolutely. And still now, or is she talking yet? What words is she saying? Well, no, I just, she's not, and she probably never will. But if she does, then that's brilliant. But
it's
let's
not put too much emphasis on it. Yeah, exactly.
And do you remember doing those the milestone forms? I can't remember how old she was.
Oh, Amy and I have had so many chats about those forms.
The health visitor warned me, but it's heartbreaking. Why put parents through that? I knew that she wasn't meeting the milestones, but to see it in paper and to tick where she fits it, it was heartbreaking. And why would you do that to a mum that's already struggling to accept that, that her child is following a different path? It's cruel.
And you already know as a mum, because you can just tell. I think there's an instinct thing. I think you can just start to see when there are differences against peers, and it's not about comparison. It's just sometimes fairly obvious to you as a parent, like, and so so you're filling in those forms and you think, yes, my child hasn't got whatever it is 20 words by the time they're 1, or 2. My child hasn't got any words by the time they're 2. I'm so acutely aware of the fact that they're not talking.
You do not need to tell me. I'm living this.
I'm living it, and I've reached out to you already because I know I need help here. And I had the same thing as Amy. I had I think it was the GP or it was the health visiting team who literally said to me, "There's just a lot of noise in people's houses, so just make sure that the television's not on in the background and stuff." And I'm thinking, oh my goodness. And then the parenting courses and everything else. I don't know, were you offered that? Because you said your health visitor was really good.
So we did do parenting course. So we've done parenting courses recently because of just to support us with Anna's challenging behaviour. We did some speech and language programs about Makaton. I know you've spoken before about Makaton. Anna does little bits of Makaton, but she prefers pictures and objects. So she uses the PECs and the objects of reference. But we just lapped up everything. Okay, if you're going to provide us with this support, then we'll take on everything and we'll just try everything and see what works for Anna. And she's now making choices. So although she's not speaking, she's able to make choices. And we use lots of photographs and the physical object because that's where she is at. She can sign more and she can sign food, and she understands when we sign chocolate and cake. So she's
the important things in life.
The most important one.
Food is a great motivator for communication. So we've learned that quite quickly. It really is.
It's actually probably a really good point that you made there, actually, about lapping up everything that you're given as an opportunity to learn. Because I think I've been through this before, where I did do the courses, but it feels almost wounding that you're being, I don't know. Like that maybe is the solution, that it's your parenting. I think very much for me at the beginning, I felt like I was doing everything wrong anyway. So then to be put on the courses, but actually it's not really personal, is it?
We felt for a while like it's like you're doing something wrong, so I'm going to tell you how to do it. But you've got to change your mindset, really, that actually taking all the information you can get, and then you pick and choose what's right for your child. And I think that's what we had to do. I think because I'm a teacher as well, so I'm coming from a teaching background, I'm aware of lots of things, and that well, it can help and it can be a problem as well because I'm perhaps too aware of lots of the different things. But actually getting that information is important, and then just using the bits that you need to use, really. Because they are all different. What works for one child doesn't work for another child. And that's what we've learned with Pitt-Hopkins. Even we've met a few families since the diagnosis that have got Pitt-Hopkins syndrome. All the children are different. You can't say, they're all, they are all individuals regardless of the syndrome. So we've just had to take, this is Anna. Anna will do things when she wants to, if she wants to, and we will just guide her and support her, keep her safe, keep her happy, and give her as much support as we could do.
And as long as they're happy, you're happy.
Well, it makes your life easier, doesn't it? It's just
And how does the syndrome affect Anna at the moment? You said that they thought she might not be able to walk, and she's defeated that odd, which must have been amazing.
Absolutely. She's actually running now. We kind of missed out that in between stage, but she just can't stop. So she hasn't worked out how to stop or land safely. So we still have to be very much around, running by the side of us.
Great exercise.
She's always been a determined character, and we always think she wasn't meant to be here. She wasn't meant to survive the pregnancy. So every single day is an absolute delight, and she's just proving them wrong all the time. So she loves walking, actually. She likes to be independent. She's now, if we're holding her hand, she's brushing our hand off, trying to get away, like, come on, mummy, I can do it on my own. So she's going through a really good stage at the minute. But I think even when you're in that good stage, you're kind of waiting for the dip. We know our life has been a roller coaster, so we're enjoying the time at the minute because we're in that good place. But we're always very aware that it's at some point going to dip again, and we'll have those challenges. So it's just kind of preparing yourself for that dip. Knowing what's to come. I think that's the hardest thing. You have to kind of live for the moment, don't you, which isn't always easy, and not think too far ahead, because you don't know. We don't know, and I think we want to control things, don't we? And we want to control the path and help them, but actually they are their own person, and we can't predict what's going to happen. And sometimes we have to just accept that we can't control everything, and just enjoy the moments that that we can.
Are there things that tend to bring on the dips? Is there a sort of pattern that you've noticed, or?
Obviously when she's poorly, because she can't communicate, I think that's the hardest thing. So this time of year I begin to get a bit anxious. The kids are back at school, the bugs are starting, and so any kind of illness, she'll get tired, so she'll get grumpy. She hits her head if she's anxious, and she bangs her head and nods her head and finds toys and hits herself, because it's frustration. It's that lack of communication. I'm telling you that something's not right inside me, but her way of telling us is by hurting herself, which is hard to kind of teach and to regulate her. We are learning, so we're learning about her and trying to show her other ways of communicating, and I think she's building up that trust in us that okay, they understand they're not going to make me do something that I don't want to do. So I think it's that illness is the big thing. Illness and tiredness is that's when it's gonna go again.
That's exactly like ours then. Exactly.
And hunger.
Hunger, absolutely. But don't you feel guilty? See, I just think, okay, if she starts doing some challenging behaviour, I just feed her, because and sometimes that solves the problem. But then you're thinking, okay, am I being this really bad mum now because I'm just constantly feeding her? You can't win, can you? I think sometimes you have to just and they're growing children, and I think if she needs food, she needs food. It's like any other child, she's no different there. Food.
And how has the special needs school impacted her then? And did she start sort of later?
She started. It was hard at first because she started during COVID. Sure. So that transition from nursery to then not going anywhere to then suddenly going back, and you're in this new school, which is massive, and it was it probably harder for me than for her. I think it was that letting go and that trust. You're building up trust in people because she's non-verbal as well. We know what she means a lot of the time, and I can understand her nuances and her little bits of behaviour. She's then put in a class where these teachers, these staff members don't know her, and that's hard to build up trust in letting other people in to look after your child. So that was hard, but they have been amazing. They make sure she gets all she needs. She swims at school. She goes to forest school. She gets to interact with her peers. We've been very lucky, and I know how lucky we are. I know lots of families, particularly in the book, lots of families have not had that experience of finding the right place for their child. And I know also as a teacher, I work with lots of children that are out of school because the school doesn't cater for their needs, which frustrates me. So I know how lucky we are that we've found a school that's perfect for Anna, really.
What does she love doing?
Swimming. Swimming, eating. She likes music, so she's very sensory based. So she's on like a sensory pathway at school. So lots of it is music. Intensive interaction, which is something we've learned along the way, which is wonderful. She loves that. Again, it opens up that communication. So if she'll tap on her knees and we suddenly do the same and copy and tap on her knees, she'll look at us like, what we're doing here. I've initiated this game, and it's just magical. She's got no words, but suddenly I'm in control of this game and mummy's copying me. And I love intensive interaction.
And how has the school impacted her, her challenges, but also her achievements? So have you seen a big change in her since starting?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we used to take the pushchair into school or a wheelchair in for her. They don't have that at all now. So we'll walk her into school. She walks all the way around the school. So her walking's definitely come on. And I think seeing other children that are doing things are kind of an inspiration for her as well, like role models for her. We get more speech, we get more turn taking, anticipation, because they're modelling what we're modelling at home. We work very much as a partnership. So anything that we're doing, any new kind of techniques and things we've learned for Anna, we tell school, and they'll make sure that they're doing the same at school. So I think having that partnership is really important, because particularly when your child is non-verbal, you're finding some things don't work and some things do work. Having that relationship is really important with the school, because we are their voice, really, and we're their voice, their ears, their eyes, everything. So it's really important that that relationship is built up to, give them the best opportunity, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's lovely for us talking to a parent that's child's slightly older. So
yes,
give us some positive feedback on, do you feel like it's less scary now? Like, does the whole okay, that's good to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. It does get easier. And as I say, I can't take the challenges away, but we've said recently, like probably within this last year, we've just got to that acceptance stage, and then it makes life a lot easier, because you're not fighting, you're not battling with what we've not got. It's accepting and appreciating what you've got. And I think talking is the biggest thing. I didn't, when Anna was at nursery, I stopped going to social situations. We stopped going to events and things, because it was just too hard. That comparison, looking at other families, was hard. I've got another mum actually that's reached out to me the last few weeks, whose child's probably the same age as your child and your children, and she's reached out because she's just said, people just don't get it, and it's hard. And she's talking to me because I'm on that little bit further on the journey, but been through a very similar path to her, and it is hard, and we still get tough days, but actually we can accept that now, and we understand Anna more. It's taken us 9 years. We said yesterday, I think, how has it taken us 9 years to understand our child? But I think you have to go through those battles, those tough times, and she'll always surprise us, and there'll be things, curveballs that get thrown at us, but it definitely does get easier.
Yeah, I guess it's learning their personality as well, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Because it just takes time for any child's personality to come out. So it's not surprising that it's going to take that long to kind of learn who your child is, what they enjoy, what works, what doesn't work, what their motivators are, what drives them up the wall. All of these things are just going to take time. But
I think we've built up that support network now as well. Like, we were very much on our own, like the three of us. I mean, my parents have been really supportive and really really great, but actually I want them to be grandparents. I don't want them to have to be the carers, and it's hard, to get that balance. But we were just like a team of three, but we've opened it up now. We've got PAs from the school, so again, that's been a battle to get the support in to give us some respite. So we do get a bit of respite at a weekend, which is important for Anna. Anna's our only child, so for Anna to have somebody else come in at the weekend is good for her. And it just gives us that little bit of a break, just to go for a walk, go for lunch or something. So our kind of family is bigger now. Our little circle is bigger. We found groups, like special needs groups, that we can go to, again, that we're with families that understand, that get it. So our network has changed completely, but we've made a network that works for us.
Oh, that's so lovely to hear.
Do you think that was your motivator for starting your Facebook group?
Definitely.
Because you've created such a beautiful community on there, and such a positive community as well.
The community came by accident. That came from the book. So I wrote my story a few years ago for a friend who was doing a blog, and I didn't want to do it. I was really reluctant. It was that stage where I was really closed off and put those barriers up. But she convinced me that it's really important to talk about, how you're feeling and these different the different situations that we were in. And I wrote the blog for her, and I felt like this weight had just lifted. That I felt it really therapeutic to actually speak, and I got that positive feedback. People were saying, "Oh, I understand," and that is lovely to hear about what you're going through, and hear the journey that Anna's been on. And actually, I then left it for a while, and then it was over a year ago now, and I just thought, I felt the need to do something. And I always say, I didn't plan to write this book. The book happened. I don't quite know how, because I decided, I don't want it just to be about me, because it isn't just about me. I want to encourage other people to feel that sense of achievement that sense of relief that I felt. I wanted them to feel and experience that. So I just put a post all over social media. I'm thinking about this book. I don't know what it's called, but basically it's about you sharing your story to help you, to give you a voice, because I think sometimes our voice in the world isn't heard enough, but also to support people like us when we first got our diagnosis, where we didn't know where to turn. We didn't know anybody else who was going through what we were going through, to actually, my aim was to have a book where all the authors' stories, somebody reading it could relate to at least one of them or two of them. And actually, through writing the book, I felt so much lighter, because I'm reading everybody's stories and thinking, I understand, I'm going through that. So I'm constantly messaging these people back, thank you so much, I get it. And then we're making these connections, and these connections have just happened. So the Facebook group was for the authors originally. So there were 26 people in that group.
So 26 people came forward to say they wanted to tell their
I had
story.
hundreds of people came through this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
So it was
I'm
amazing.
not actually surprised. I'm not surprised, because I
How
think
It's surprising. Yeah, I thought, okay, no one's gonna want to do this. I'm the only crazy one that's, wanting to open up. But yeah, loads of people did. And then different things came up, and then we narrowed it down to the 26 people that are in the book. So that, the Facebook group was support for them, really, with writing the stories, because lots of them hadn't written before. So that was the support for them. And then it's just now over 800, and it's just like spiraling. But actually, it's brought people together. So like in the summer holidays, I've got like a little Facebook group, a little message, I don't know what they call it, a channel or something in the group. So in the summer holidays, I arrange meetups for the Leicestershire families. So I'm making new connections. They're finding other people to talk to. I know people at opposite end of the country that have, one person, I think in Scotland, has read a story in the book, made contact with a person through the group because they're going through the same situation at the minute. They've had phone calls and they're now supporting each other. And I'm thinking, my God, this is wonderful that people have got people that aren't professionals, that are just parents that they can talk to. And I think that's the biggest thing for me, creating that community where people can just talk and offload. And if I'm having a bad day, I know I can post on that group and somebody will just give me something back, or just say, it's okay, we're going through it. And it just makes you just feel that little bit better.
It's just those connections with other people, isn't it? It's actually invaluable.
It really is, because it can be isolating. If you're going through a really challenging time, you're not getting out, you're not doing what you need to do, you're not having that self-care that you need. It can be really challenging, but just knowing that there's somebody there that you can talk to is just, it's really important.
So for those listening, what's the name of your book, and tell us a bit about it?
So the book is Parenting on a Different Path, and it's inspirational stories and poems from parents of children with complex needs. So within there, you've got verbal children, stories about verbal children. There's children with epilepsy, children with autism, ADHD, a whole variety. And it's an emotional read. I did warn you, didn't I, ladies? It's hard, and you kind of have to read it in bits. There's people that talk on the subjects that you don't really want to talk about, you don't really want to hear, but it's important to sometimes go there. And so it's a hard read, but it's an important read, is how I describe it. And it's gone to professionals as well. I think it's important I've had social workers that have been interested. It's on a nurses reading list somewhere in the country. So I've got other professionals that are reading it. So I think that's important as well, because you go to some professionals, some appointments, and people don't get it. So actually making sure that professionals are aware this is what families are going through, so they can perhaps
putting that human side in it, isn't it? So that they can understand this is actually how it feels to be on the receiving end.
It's that emotional side, isn't it? So I think that's important as well. So that's another amazing. Again, it wasn't an aim of the book, but it's something again that's happened since the book, that professionals have contacted me, and gone from there.
And the poems within the book, because I have to say the stories were incredible. But I messaged Louisa actually, and I said, I've just ordered your book, and she said it's a bit of an emotional read. Well, page 2, I was gone.
I know. And I knew you were gonna, and I know exactly which poems you're gonna be. And that's from a dad. He was one of the first ones to submit. There's only 2 dads that have written for the book, and I tried so blooming hard to get dads involved.
Yeah.
I think dads are often busy, and again, it's a male thing, isn't it? It's not as easy for lots of men to talk, and that's something that I do want to encourage. But the 2 men that have contributed to the book, one at the beginning and one at the end, are just wonderful.
Yeah.
And so brave of these people. And I always say that, to open up, you're letting yourself be vulnerable. But yeah, the poems are beautiful.
I've actually highlighted one because I wanted to read it on here because it really touched both my husband and I. So there was one about a child being nonverbal, wasn't there?
Yeah.
So I was sobbing reading that one. Not because it was sad, but just because it was so beautifully written, and it really.
And it's so true.
Me.
Yeah, it's
So this one's called Superhuman.
Yes.
They say you're superhuman, but I know that you're not. Just another mummy and daddy giving all you've got. No superhuman powers, just giving from the heart and loving me with all you have until the day we part. Each day I see you struggle on, but never do complain. You'll wake again tomorrow and do it all again. They ask you how you manage to make it through each day. You tell them you don't have a choice. This is the only way. I wish that I could tell you how much you mean to me, but I don't have the spoken word. Just hope that you can see. They say that special parents are gifted kids like me, but you are human just like them, if only they could see. You crash, you burn, you fall, you cry, you rise again, and you don't ask why. They say you're superhuman, but I know that you're not. You're my amazing mummy and daddy giving it all you've got. I just thought it was beautiful.
You see, I've never heard that. I've read it internally, but actually to hear that being spoken, it's amazing. So powerful, and it's so true. It's so true.
Yeah. And I think we can all relate. We're all just doing our best, and
and I think it's amazing. Something else that's made it much easier for us at the minute is we've lowered those expectations, particularly with Christmas coming up. You have that ideal Christmas, you're going to do this, you're all going to sit around as a family, you're going to open your presents at a particular time. We've dropped those expectations, and we'll just do whatever we do and go with the flow and stop putting those pressures on ourselves. When you take those pressures away, life becomes that little bit easier, little bit calmer, because
and it's really touched me what you said about building that connection, because Kirsty and I have said many times that when we found a group of people that were going through what we were going through, and we go for dinner, once a month, and this network is now building from people hearing about, and it's wonderful, and we're so excited to meet new people that are going through a similar thing. And
I think we have to do it ourselves. As we have to. This community doesn't just fall on you. You have to kind of build it and start those seeds, and then you're helping people that perhaps were really alone. When you'll find somebody that suddenly comes into your group that hadn't got anybody. Maybe they haven't got family around them. They haven't got any understanding. Suddenly they found you guys, and it just gives them their life back, because you've got somebody then who gets it, and it's so important. It really is.
Absolutely.
What are some of the things that Anna's doing now that you didn't expect that she would do? I always like to hear these stories.
Walking is the big thing, but she's cheeky. She's got, again, for having no words, she's got such a cheeky personality, and she's funny. She's naughty in lots of ways, so she can still be naughty and food. Again, it comes down to food. If we leave a plate of food or a bag of crisps or something, she will, and leave the room, she'll look at you, look around the room to see if you're there, and then grab it. So it's that cheeky side, that personality is really shining through, and it's lovely. She's doing so well.
Oh, that's
amazing. I saw one of the things that you described her as having a really infectious laugh. And it really resonated because we've got a lovely friend who also says that about her daughter as well.
Yeah.
And it just made me think, and I was like, such a nice thing, I think, because laughing's just like lovely, isn't it? When, you know, any child, when they start to giggle or whatever, it's just such a nice feeling as a parent.
Absolutely. And it's contagious. We say that about Anna, that, you know, if you're around Anna, you are just happy because she just spreads that love. But what we say about Anna as well is she'll never understand all the rubbish that goes on in the world, the wars, the fighting, that she won't understand that. To her, if you go through for a walk in the park, under the trees, the wind in the trees, the dogs, the sun shining through, her life is just, car wash. Her house is, her life is just amazing.
Yeah.
So actually, it just makes you appreciate those little things in life. That's what's important. And she brings you down. We've learned so much from her. She really brings you down to what matters, and just being happy. And nature is wonderful.
Yeah, it really does put life into perspective, doesn't it? It grounds you for sure.
Yeah.
Louisa, what advice would you have for parents that are at the start of their journey?
Accept that it's not always going to be easy. Accept that you've done nothing wrong. Don't put that pressure on yourself, and be honest and open and talk to people, because you might not find instantly the person that's right for you to listen, but there are people out there. There's a lot of us out there that are going through similar journeys, but it's finding them. There's loads of Facebook groups. Finding the face-to-face groups are a little bit harder. But connect with people, get those networks, and I think that's the biggest thing. Lower those the pressure on ourselves, and speak to people. Find that network.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on and talking to us. Honestly,
ladies,
it's a pleasure to meet you, and thank you for the network that you're building, because it's going to help so many people.
Thank
you. And the book's wonderful.
It's helping me as well. So from a very selfish point of view, it's been very therapeutic for me, and the group is helping me. I'm finding that I can talk and ask questions in there as much as anybody else. It's not me, it's not my group, it's our group of people that get it, group of parents that are on a different path.
But it's not selfish at all. Amy and I have had the same conversation about how even just doing this podcast, just talking with, you know, other friends who Amy was talking about earlier, has helped us so much.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, we've been really fortunate, I think we've said this before, to have found people quite early in our journeys, because ours are really still really little. And we don't take that for granted, I think. We're aware of it.
It is quite unusual. We were quite alone for quite a long time. So you are very lucky to have each other, and that will grow. That network will grow, and you'll be fine, ladies. We can do it. We can do it.
We've got this.
We have.
Louisa, thank you so much.
No, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
It's been fantastic.